Do you know what long-term athletic development really means? Many parents get their kids involved in particular sports at an early age. However, these sports oftentimes require the participation of that individual sport year round. If you look at how sports have evolved over the last several decades, recreational sports that used to last 3 or 4 months have been replaced by travel teams for soccer, lacrosse, etc. And these travel teams require fall participation, winter participation, spring participation, summer participation. Ultimately, the kid ends up participating in the same sport year round. If they want to play a second sport, a lot of times these sports are then overlapping, which means that a child's training too much, they don't get adequate rest. Oftentimes they're undernourished for the amount of athletic participation they're involved with, etc. So at Evolution Sports, we look at long-term athletic development as a way of establishing many different athletic parameters within a child. We want a child to be flexible and mobile. We want a child to learn how to develop power. We want a child to learn how to absorb force and be able to decelerate themselves or weighted objects in space. We need to look at multiplanar movements, and we've got to create individuals that are capable of not only just moving in a straight line, but cutting side to side, adding rotational capabilities to their movements. Many people think that weight training isn't appropriate for younger kids, and the stigma about weight training and the effects on growth plates needs to be closely understood. Children can participate in relatively heavy weight training because their growth plates aren't active. And so during periods where there's lower activity within the growth plates is a really good time to periodize in strength training, working on the biomechanics of our various lifts, whether they're Olympic lifts or more powerlifting techniques. Compound movements with heavy load helps a child develop resiliency and control. It also helps with bone density, muscle development, movement pattern development, etc. When we play sports, we learn particular skill sets that are required for their sports, and oftentimes there's a conditioning component because simply you're just doing a lot of running. But there's no guarantee that your kid runs well or that your kid has good running mechanics or that the coach is even doing anything about their biomechanics. So a lot of times your kids develop skill sets around relatively and honestly crappy biomechanics. And if your kid's naturally gifted, they do better than most children. There's a period of time, though, where we need to take our kids out of our sports and we need to start teaching them how to move again. They need to learn how to jump. They need to learn how to run well. They need to learn how to accelerate and decelerate. They need to be able to move their body around in space. There are way too many high schoolers that are incapable of performing good push-ups or pull-ups, yet alone running, distances at a good clip. So a well-rounded program has to look at all of these different athletic capabilities, and we need to program them in throughout the year in and around shorter periods of sports development so that by the time our kids are in middle school or approaching high school, they're a well-rounded athlete. They can step into any sport that they want to and have a decent biomechanical and athletic basis for development. Your kids can learn skills later. They can't learn biomechanics after thousands of poor biomechanic repetitions have been performed. From a motor learning perspective, our kids' brains have more plasticity when they're young. They learn art better, they learn music better, they learn language better. They also learn movement patterns better when they're introduced at an earlier age. So at Evolution Sports, we plan to introduce proper lifting mechanics, proper squatting form, proper push-up form, with children as young as 6 years old, so that by the time they're in middle school, we don't have to correct these problems. These kids are strong, athletic, capable individuals, and they can learn skill sets on top of a subconscious athletic basis. If you're interested in learning more about long-term athletic development, or you'd like to get your kids into training because they simply don't look and move as well as other kids, please feel free to give us a call. Our highly credentialed team of strength and conditioning coaches, running coaches, and physical therapists have the skill sets to help get your kids to that next level. I really appreciate you guys taking the time watching this video. Hopefully you learned more about long-term athletic development. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Please DM us.